Hi everyone, welcome to one more episode of the Allplane Podcast, where I talk with innovators and entrepreneurs that are transforming the aviation industry. First of all, let me repeat the usual reminder that you can find all the previous episodes of this podcast, as well as many other aviation stories on our website, Allplane.tv. That's Allplane.tv. Today we're going to talk about electric aviation, a topic that we revisit regularly in this podcast. And to do so, we connect with Australia, although our guest is actually from Spain. David Doral is the co-founder of Dante Aeronautical, a firm that has recently made headlines because it has announced a partnership with two Spanish airlines, Volotea and Air Nostrum, to develop electric flight technology for regional flights. We're not talking yet about a brand new airplane, although David's team has also been working on that, and they have produced some really cool, eye-catching renderings of how it would be like. The first step would be to retrofit existing aircraft with hybrid electric systems, such as the ones manufactured by Canadian firm Magnex, that is a partner of Dante Aeronautical. This is why Dante Aeronautical, David's firm, is currently working in Australia, where it's a partner of Sydney Seaplanes, a firm whose founder was also on this podcast not long ago, explaining his plans to be one of the first airlines in the world to operate commercial electric flights. But besides these specific projects, David has also very extensive experience in aeronautics and in the field of electric aviation in particular. So we talk about the general prospects of electric aviation, its pros and cons. So without further ado, let me welcome David to the podcast. Hi, David. How are you?
Not too bad. Thank you for having me here today, Mika.
Well, it's a pleasure. You are joining us from the other side of the world in Australia, although you're originally from Spain, but you've been working in Australia already for quite some time.
Yep, correct.
And we had here on the podcast one of the companies that you are closely working with, Sydney Seaplanes, has a very, very exciting electric seaplane project that you are part of. And today I wanted to ask you about quite a few things, because the company that you represent, Dante Aeronautical, is active in the field of electrical aviation, and you have been taking part in a number of very interesting projects. The latest one is a project that you are working on together with a couple of Spanish airlines, also in the field of electrical aviation. And we're going to talk about all these now. But first of all, I would like to ask you, like all guests, to introduce yourself. What's your background, and what is Dante Aeronautical, and what's the story behind this startup company?
Yeah, sure. So again, thank you for having me. A pleasure to be with you today. And just a little bit of an introduction about myself. I'm from Spain, born and raised in Madrid, where I studied aerospace engineering. Soon after I finished, I started, moving around. And I actually have to say that most of my professional life has been away from Spain. I started working for Aernova back in the 90s, but then I started moving, worked for Boeing for a while, Airbus. Back then, I used to do stress engineering, so that's where I started. Along the way, I also got an MBA, within SEAT, then moved into management. In the last 10 years or so, I've had executive positions for mid-sized first years, like Artec Solutions in the south of Spain, M Torres, a technology provider that provides FP technology to all the large primes, and also work for Quickstep here in Australia, a composite manufacturer. All of this idea about Dante Aeronautical, because just to give you a little bit of also introduction about the company, I came up with this idea about Dante Aeronautical around 3 years ago while I was still working for M Torres, simply because we're getting closer to all these little and not so little startups trying to develop urban air mobility concepts. basically about electrification, simply because that was part of the mTORUS business, try to produce composite structures for those companies.
The company you were working for, Torres, it's an aerostructures company?
No, mTORUS is a technology provider. That was more than 3 years ago. mTORUS is a provider of AFP, automated fiber placement technology. So machines to produce composite structures.
Okay.
I would say that all the composite large aircrafts built in the world right now, from Airbus and Boeing, tend to use those machines, and that's a Spanish company that builds those machines.
Okay.
So as part of that, we're also looking into other sectors. Electrification was a very relevant one for us, simply because that flying taxis, eVTOLs, whatever you want to call it, anything that is going to be electric will have to be lightweight. At least if you design that from scratch, that will be a market for anybody that is related with composite structures. I started looking into that. One reason, because of the personal attraction that I felt to that sector, but I also started seeing that there could be an opportunity there. I thought that there was probably a little bit too much hype around urban air mobility. And what I thought that there could be a bigger opportunity that my mind is still untapped is around regional aviation. Because that type of, that segment, I'm talking about flights under maybe 600, 500 kilometers, is a segment of the aviation industry that is ready for disruption. Because the technology as it is right now and as it's going to be in the future, I think that is ready to basically change the way that those aircraft work, to basically repower those aircrafts with electric power plants. Mm-hmm. The actual original idea from Dante was developing a brand new aircraft, a hybrid aircraft, just simply to be able to reach the ranges that we would think the technology or we would think that would be needed in order to make a good business case out of it. Because the problem with electric aircrafts and even flying taxis is that only with batteries, you're going to have a big challenge. In terms of what kind of missions you can do. So what we think was, look, let's come up with a hybrid aircraft that can basically, replace completely the kind of turboprops that you can find nowadays. Moreover, thanks to the more efficient nature of electric power plants, you're going to be more competitive and you're going to be able to service new routes that right now you cannot fill with a large aircraft. Mm-hmm. And that's where the idea came from. We started working again, on a brand new aircraft, although, recently things have changed slightly.
Okay, so that's the Dante Aeronautical. Yes. And you have teams distributed between Australia, where you are currently based, and Spain, where you have part of your team. Yeah. I had a look at your website, and I've seen you do a number of different things. You do consulting in the field of electrification.
Yep.
You also do aircraft conversions. So I imagine you can take a conventional aircraft and fit it with electric engines. And then you are developing new concepts as well. And we're going to talk about that in detail now, because you recently announced just a few days ago a brand new concept in cooperation with two Spanish airlines, Volotea and Air Nostrum, that are two airlines that operate in the regional space. And then you also have this cooperation in Australia with Sydney Seaplanes, that it's an operator that is it's flying also regionally with rather small planes, but that has some interesting ideas to open new routes in Australia. So what would you define now as your core business? Are you more into the retrofit, consulting?
Yeah. So I guess that the most relevant projects that we're trying to move forward is the retrofit, the conversion of existing aircraft into electric. And the reality is that not just this project with Sydney Seaplanes here in Australia, but also the project that has been recently announced with Volotea and Air Nostrum are about retrofitting existing aircrafts. is about initially, the first step would be retrofitting Sydney seaplanes aircrafts here, and that was where all of this idea started. As I said before, the original concept from Dante Aeronautical was developing a brand new aircraft. But what we've been seeing in the last 18 months is that there could be significant interest from existing operators, particularly operators like Sydney seaplanes flying small aircrafts and short routes, to go into electric, simply because electric is more efficient and cleaner and all of that. And we're trying to apply the same concept to Volotea and Air Nostrum. Okay. Although today they're operating bigger aircrafts.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you, because both Volotea and Air Nostrum now are flying larger aircraft, and I think the project you presented was for an aircraft of up to 19 seats, yep. Right? Which is a size range where most electric projects are currently, yep. Because yep. of limitations with battery technology, but neither of those two airlines have currently aircraft in their fleet, yeah. that can be retrofitted this way. And also the rendering, all the press releases came with these renderings that it's like a brand new aircraft, which I guess it's the one you were referring to, right?
Yeah, and I have to admit that that render is the one that you can see in our website, and that was the original concept, the DAX 19. That is a brand new hybrid electric aircraft. But the press release didn't include that picture at all. Has been, some journalists, when they received the press release, I think that they ran to see what they could find about us in our website, and they took that picture and that image, and they simply integrated that into their articles, right? Yeah. But that wasn't the intention. In the reality, if you read the press release and the articles, is that we're planning to retrofit aircrafts for both Volotea and Air Nostrum, because the idea is to be able to bring something to market in a reasonable amount of time, not 7, 8, 10 years. That's the minimum period that it would take to develop a brand new aircraft.
Mm-hmm. So basically, the cooperation with these two airlines, from what I read, they are providing you with data about their operations and the market conditions, and you then come with a technical proposal.
Yeah. So all of this started last year. Initially we spoke with Sydney Seaplanes. Thing with Volotea is that we had a relationship with them going on, since 2019, and back then we approached them with the concept of the brand new hybrid aircraft, and they were interested. They saw it like a long-term thing, but they were interested, and we've been in discussions all this time. In the meantime, we initiated this relationship with Sydney Seaplanes. In this case, it was about retrofitting aircrafts, and thanks to our existing relationship with Volotea, we also told them, look, we're working with this smaller operator in Australia. Maybe this model could be of interest to you. We told them what we think the technology could do, and they actually started, we worked together a little bit to explore potential routes, potential missions that they could do, and they found that even if they don't operate that type of aircraft right now, they could find a very interesting market for it. And they said, okay, well, this could work. So, let's keep talking. And now in the context of these programs to, revitalize the industry in Europe, after COVID, what we've decided is to put together a proposal. And in this case, Air Nostrum has joined also the effort to attract funding and to develop a comprehensive program to start with 9-seaters, but then moving to 19-seaters, retrofit them, certify them, and basically, let them to try to operate them for a little while, and hopefully become another offering, within their portfolio of services, routes, and aircrafts.
That would be a type of operation, like it's 9 to 19 seat, a bit of a departure from what they're doing now. But I must say, I know the people at Volotea well, because I had the chance to work in a project that involved this company a few years ago. So I know they are very, very forward-looking and very tech savvy. So I'm not surprised that they are looking into innovative.
Yeah, and Carlos Munoz, their CEO, has been always, very supportive and really keen on, listening to what we can offer. I guess that they need to be also realistic in terms of the current situation, their business model, and all of that. But as you said, they're really open to explore different and new possibilities. And I guess it's a departure of the typical capacity that they typically use, the aircraft, the type of aircraft that they use. But what they're seeing is that with these numbers, with these figures, in terms of operating costs, energy consumption, and so on, you can actually make other routes possible, and you can make other markets and other opportunities viable. Maybe routes that they're not operating right now, but they're very dynamic in looking for new opportunities. And what they're realizing is that with this new technology, new markets can be open and new commercial opportunities can be realized.
Because the operational costs will go down significantly with electric.
So in terms of energy costs and in terms of maintenance costs, those are the biggest benefits of electrification. And I guess the route that we're following with retrofitting is making the best of existing platforms, adapting what is really disruptive of electrification, that is the power plant, and turn conventional aircraft into electric. Again, taking advantage of the main benefits that are lower energy costs, lower maintenance costs.
Mm-hmm. And the power plant, if I understand correctly, you have a partnership with Magnix as well, which is a company that started in Australia as well, although now they are based in Canada
Seattle.
or Seattle. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So look, I guess that we linked all the dots together when we started speaking with Sydney Seaplanes. These guys are operating caravans. The first demonstration flights that Magni-X did were with caravans too, Cessna caravans. And the motor that they're developing is basically a replacement of the PT6, the turboprop that the caravans mount. So we started, having discussions, the three companies, and basically we'd reached an agreement through which we're planning to retrofit Cessna caravans with the Magni-X motor. And actually, we have an agreement in principle to become the exclusive integrators of those motors in Australia. So the idea is that Dante Aeronautical should have exclusivity with those motors in Australia and New Zealand and the Pacific Islands.
For the Cessna caravan or for all type of aircraft?
To integrate the Magni 650, that is their motor, their electric motor in Cessna caravans.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Yeah, I had a chance to speak with the CEO of Sydney Seaplanes, and I'm going to post a link to the show notes so that anyone that wants to check this interesting project, they want to fly between Sydney Harbour and Canberra, where there's a lake. You can land downtown. Quite interesting. Although they will start with conventional aircraft, and they have the idea to electrify later on. Yeah.
So the reason why we started speaking with Sydney Seaplanes is because right now they, the typical flights are scenic tours around Sydney Harbour, and they're like 15, 20-minute long flights. And that is the ideal first step to bring electrification, because the current technology as it is good enough for that. For the longer flights that they're planning between Sydney and Canberra, for instance, we'll need to bring other technologies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So where do you see the whole electrification wave going? Do you have a time frame in your mind of what can we expect in the coming years in this field?
Yeah. So what we think, the technology and the market is going to do is basically what we're trying to do. That is, first, bring electric power plants to existing aircraft, simply because you can hit the market way quicker, and you can start operating profitably certain routes. There will be niche routes like, these 15, 20-minute scenic tours, or, the kind of short flights that you can find with companies providing services to islands, island hopping. So, and that's something that we could see commercially operating in the next 3 years. And that's basically our plan. From then on, what we'll see is that other technologies will be required, like, for instance, using fuel cells, as a range extender. You could also go hybrid with an internal combustion engine. That was our original idea, and that will extend the range and the commercial applicability of that technology. So what we expect is that in the next 5-6 years, you will start seeing 19-seaters doing 100, 200, 300, 400 kilometer flights. And that will become, I guess, a new tool in order to operate certain routes that, again, until recently have not been profitable. 20 years ago, we could see, particularly in the US, a lot of little airlines providing these kind of services with small turboprops. Most of them have disappeared simply because they were not sustainable in economic terms. So now we're going to see that electrification is going to make possible, again, those type of routes and even shorter routes. And that's what we predict we're going to see in the market in the next 4 to 6 years.
And what are the main obstacles for airlines and operators adopting this technology? Is there any catch? Is there a cost barrier that prevents more widespread adoption of electric engines? Is the retrofitting cost? Is it the lack of infrastructure? What are the catches here?
Well, I guess that there are a combination of several things. First, in order to make this possible, again, we'll need to see, the operators that will benefit from this technology breakthrough will be the ones like Sydney Seaplanes or other operators doing very short flights, right? And from there, we'll need to extend into other things. If you have an airline where they're doing way longer flights, and you try to introduce this technology, probably that is not going to work. But from there, we can start extending that range. But well, in terms of hurdles, I guess that certification is going to be a big one, simply because there's no regulation right now that tells you what you need to do. Regulators like EASA, FAA, CASA here in Australia are developing those rules as we speak. Depending on how fast they go, so we will see this happening or not, or happening faster, because I think it's going to happen no matter what. It will be a question of when. For instance, a typical example is right now when we're talking about retrofitting a conventional aircraft with an electric power plant, some of the question that one of the questions that regulators ask themselves is, does it require a new type certificate or supplemental type certificate is enough? Just for people to understand, an STC, a supplemental type certificate, is like, you do like a little upgrade. It may not be so little, but it's kind of an upgrade, and the rest of the aircraft still applies, and the certification that the OEM put in the first place is still applicable, right? But if they decide that you require a new type certificate, you need to basically certify that aircraft as if it were new, in which case the process will be way longer and more expensive. So those are the type of regulatory issues that could hinder the development of electric aviation. What we're seeing is that regulatory bodies and regulatory organizations are really keen on seeing this happening, but that needs to be a reality, not just a comment. So that would be another one. And the other one would be just technology, how fast the technology is going to grow. I was mentioning before that the point to start is short flights, but obviously for this to really change aviation, ranges need to be, or longer ranges need to be possible. So one significant enabler of this kind of new technologies and new opportunities going to be better batteries, but batteries will take us up to a point, and the next step is fuel cells. There's no fuel cell for aviation right now certified. So we need to see that happening in the next few years. And there are a few companies working on that. We're actually in discussions with them. Now the question is how fast that is going to happen, whether it's something that is going to take 3-4 years as we're expecting, or it's going to take 10, in which case all of these business model would take way longer to materialize.
The batteries, how many do you fit into the caravan conversion, and where do you fit them?
That's a good case, or a good question. And look, that is part of the work that we're doing, right? To find the different places or locations within the airframe to put those batteries. In the case of the Cessna Caravan, particularly the larger versions, they have a cargo pod, basically under the belly of the aircraft. That actually it could be an ideal place to locate the battery packs. So that could be an easy answer, at least for the land plane. When we're talking about seaplanes, the situation or the problem may be a little bit more difficult, but there are also other alternatives, and that's what we're looking into, and that is a significant part of our development efforts.
Where is the science of batteries currently when it comes to the safety? Some electronic devices had issues with overheating batteries and all that. Is this still an issue, or there are ways to mitigate this potential risk?
It is still an issue, but there are ways to mitigate that. For instance, right now, there's an electric aircraft that has been certified by EASA, the Pipistrel, I don't know.
The Bellies, I think.
The Bellies, yes. And
I had Mr. Boscarol here, the founder of Pipistrel, here on the podcast recently as well. So a chance to speak about this.
So you've heard that firsthand. So look, these guys have managed to solve that problem, at least for a very specific application. It is true that it involves certain strict requirements in terms of cooling, in terms of energy management, but that is possible. You need to guarantee that if you have some malfunctioning, some thermal runaway issue, you're going to be able to extinguish, you're going to be able to terminate that without without extending that overheating to the surrounding cells. With the right cooling technology, that is possible. And again, the Pipistrel case is proof of that. So that's an area of attention that whether we do it internally or working with partners, definitely we need to solve. The battery pack of the Cessna Caravan is going to be bigger than the Pipistrel one, but again, it's just something doable, and the current technology can find solutions to that problem.
And aside from the Sydney Seaplanes project, you are also involved in another seaplane startup project in Spain, in the Balearic Islands, Isla Air, I think it's called.
Yeah.
What is your role here in this project? I think they are planning to start with conventionally powered aircraft really soon this year already. I think this summer season. They have this idea of switching to electric whenever it's possible. What can you tell us about your involvement in this project and this project in general?
So we had initiated discussions with Isla Air last year, and again it was like a natural extension of the work that we're doing with Sydney Seaplanes, because basically it's a very similar operation. And in particular, Isla Air are planning to do some routes like Ibiza, Formentera. That is a very short flight. Could be even shorter than the flights that Sydney Seaplanes does here in Australia. And again, an ideal case to introduce electrification. And I think that also because of other reasons, because of sustainability reasons around an island like Formentera that doesn't have an airport, would push them to try to introduce electrification in their fleet. So that's the use case, so to speak, that we're trying to develop with them. For now, this is very preliminary conversations and discussions in terms of how could that make work. And actually, what we envisage is that they could be part of this larger project with Volotea and Air Nostrum. So Isla Air actually could be another party to that larger project.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, both airlines have a strong presence there in the Balearics. So it would make sense if you could link some dots with some other larger routes that are connecting with the wider world. Yeah, could be an interesting situation. Very well. And so you're a relatively young company. What are your plans for the future? Are you looking for venture capital? Are you looking for new markets? What? Tell us.
So, looking for funding, when you're a startup is always a part of your efforts, a significant part of your efforts. And actually, particularly we go ahead with this larger project, it will require also, even if we get public support, we're going to need also private funding. And right now we're also in that process. So that funding separately will be also required for our efforts here in Australia with Sydney Seaplanes. So obviously that is a significant part of our short-term objectives. We're also working in different parts of the development in terms of, for instance, we want to have the capability to test our power plants in the ground thoroughly before we put anything in an aircraft to accelerate and streamline certification. And we're also looking at the different configurations that for the different aircrafts would be more interesting or more attractive, particularly with the 19-seaters. With the 9-seater, we focused on the Caravan, but with the 9-seater, we have more options. So, we have a few smaller technology projects that we're working on. And obviously, moving forward, also growing the team. So again, probably the typical challenges that a technology startup faces in its early stages of life.
Mm-hmm. So people that want to learn more about Dante Aeronautical, where should they go? What's your website and where can they find more information?
So definitely our website, www.danteaeron.com.
Aeron, ending in N.
Yes, exactly. So, it's basically the name of the company, but we got it short because, Dante Aeronautical was probably too short or too long, to be remembered or to place it in many other websites and portals. So, we got it short to Dante Aeron. And we have also our LinkedIn page. So if you look in LinkedIn, Dante Aeronautical, you will be able to see, our page. We try to post relevant news about what we're doing. In our website, you can find actually pictures and videos, even of our of our clean sheet project, that's Task 19, and also all the news about these retrofit projects with those airlines.
Even that famous picture we were talking about that was
yes. So
in the press release, not entirely accurate, but
a few journalists went there, went into the press section of the website, and they started looking at all the videos. That look, in the end, that's also part of our development project. And what we would like to see ideally is that once that we retrofit these aircraft, the Caravan, the 19-seater, all the know-how, all the learnings that we're going to acquire, powering existing aircraft with electric power plants could be applicable to develop that brand new aircraft. And in our roadmap, actually, we've highlighted that. First, it's going to be the 9-seater, then the 19-seater, both retrofits. And after that, it will be the certification of the brand new aircraft. Mm-hmm. It is true that is probably 8 to 10 years away, and right now what we're focusing is again retrofitting existing aircraft, simply because we think that the business model is clear, the time frame is doable, realistic, and it could actually contribute to the evolution and the progress and bringing electrification to the aviation industry. That I think is going to be the future. Electrification is going to revolutionize the industry, and we want to be part of that.
But you're still on the cards, huh? That concept.
Yeah. So and look, that has been a lot of work that has been particularly here in Australia with University of Sydney, and that's also part of the plan.
Well, all the best with all these projects that you are working on, and it's been a pleasure having you here today on the podcast. I invite everyone to go check these concepts on your website. I'm going to post some links here on the show notes as well, so that people can check as well the Sydney Seaplanes project, the Balearic Islands project, and some of the other stuff we've been talking about here today. So thank you so much, David.
Thank you, Mikel, and it's been a pleasure for me to be here with you. And hopefully you will be hearing more from us in the near future.
Let's hope so. Good night, because it's almost. It must be late there. Huh?
Yes. 10 hours later here. At least before the time changes.
But, just starting the day here.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and speak soon. Bye.
Thank you, Mikel.
Before you go, and if you like this podcast, a quick reminder that it would be absolutely great if you could please give it a rating on Apple, Spotify, or whichever platform you're using, or recommend it to a friend or whomever might be interested. Thank you very much, and see you soon.